Welcome to the Artistic Foodies, the show that explores life through the lens of art and food. I'm Abbas Mohamed,
And I'm Irfan Rydhan.
and today we're talking about the movie Mustache, directed by Imran J Khan, which premiered in 2023 at South by Southwest and won the People's Choice Award.
Imran J Khan is a Pakistani American writer and filmmaker with a background in editing. On the TV side, he worked on Iwaju for Disney Plus and Disenchantment for Netflix. On the feature film side, he worked on Space Jam: A New Legacy, Minions: The Rise of Guru, and the critically acclaimed documentary Shirkers. He's a graduate of NYU's MFA film production program and a San Francisco Bay Area native who began his filmmaking journey at UC Davis making viral internet sketch videos while pursuing a degree in biological systems engineering. First of all, I want to thank you for joining us on the show. And also thank you for representing my hometown, your hometown, San Jose,
Yeah,
in the movie. I
we have a movie
enjoyed
now.
that. You got a movie representing the San Jose, the West Side.
Hey everyone, you excited?
Yes!
Thank you so much for coming. This is the last screening of Mustache Week. We are so happy to have a full house. And I really, it just means a lot. It's a very personal film, and I hope you enjoy it. And yeah, I'll see you guys after the screen.
Go Imran!
One complaint there, I have to say, because you did shoot it in Toronto, and
Yeah.
I've been, obviously, because my wife is from
Oh,
that
really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Mississauga, so I
Oh.
kind of recognize the Mississauga Toronto area, so I can see that.
You're
you know,
probably one of the few experts of both
yeah,
that's gonna watch the
yeah.
movie.
I saw you did take some exterior shots of the Bay Area, so
Yeah,
I saw some of that, so that
there's
was
some
good.
authentic Bay Area shots.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. But the residential area, I could tell that this is not San
Yeah,
Jose.
don't look
This
too
is like
hard.
this is
Yeah,
like
that's why we can shoot the whole thing in San Jose. I mean,
yeah,
it's sort of a production slash tax rebate.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. But that's cool.
thing.
That's good.
Yeah.
Thanks again for representing San Jose. And so I actually really enjoyed the movie. It was very
Oh, thank
very
you.
well done. So congratulations on a good job. And I obviously growing up in San Jose, and we had kind of a similar upbringing. Both of our fathers were very involved in the
Hmm.
community, in the Muslim community in the Bay Area. So there's a lot of things I could personally relate to. Excuse me. My father had obviously spent a lot of time in the masjid, and he was in those kind of board meetings that you kind of depicted a little bit.
Hmm.
And also, shout out to you for representing the correct way to do namaz. That's my big pet peeve. On
I
If you go back to we talked about this with Rizwan Manji when we had him on, and the
oh,
American
that's cool. Oh,
Desi
I forgot
film.
you guys had him. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay.
So that was, and he we talked about that where they got a lot of flack because that was in the 1990s, that one of the first
Yeah.
films
Someone was
about.
reading the Quran upside down. People are praying in different directions.
Yeah, so we said, come on, we gotta have somebody who knows how to do namaz properly in the masjid, and you got it
Yeah.
down. Thank you for that.
Yeah. I did edit out a like a there's only like one sajda. I mean, it's like that. It was for pacing, but I did
Yeah.
cut a sajda.
All right.
May
Okay.
Allah forgive you for
Yeah.
this on the day of judgment.
Yeah. He comes up and it's like,
Astaghfirullah,
and
you
see, if you
created
didn't
your
notice,
own
then
kind
I
of
think it's
namaz.
fine.
No, it was good. I like that. I saw that. That's one of my pet peeves, as I said. So thanks for getting
No,
that.
yeah, I had a really good assistant actually. That his name's Yusuf Zine. Shout out Yusuf Zine. But he was helping me out there. Like he's from Toronto, and he would
he would help like things like I mean I would be involved too, but he was like there not only actually he's an extra in the praying scene, at least one of them. And then he also would like help all of the most of the kids were non-Muslim who were in the movie, I guess, in the Islamic school part. And so he would like coach everybody while we were like working on something else. And so yeah, it's like trying to get details right is hard. It really is.
That's why, like, it's not people talk about representation as the end all be all. It's not enough to have, people that look like us on the screen. We got to have people that live like us on the team.
Yeah, yes. That's what I realized very early. And so we had a cultural consultant who was Pakistani. I had a production manager who was Pakistani Muslim, and also my assistant who was like became an extension of me. So it's almost like he could work on something while I was working on something else. Like if he needed to help with anything like production design, or like he did the first draft of like the flyer, like the masjid flyer, you know what I mean? Like things like that it's like I could have the production design team work on it, but I'm like, I think we could get to it. We know that world more, so we could like do it faster and like with less revisions if me and Yusuf did it, for example, versus like, so I tried to think of like if there was something like that would make more sense for like me to delegate to somebody who already knows that the whole, everything about the world and everything, then I would do that. But I still had, like, I mean, obviously it's like you're working with a whole, like there's like 100 people involved in the movie, making the movie. So it's like, you're trusting people to do you're trusting people to do their job still. Like you're not jumping in and like micromanaging everything. But if it's like something like making a masjid flyer and you have something really particular in your mind, sort of like that, like quirky graphic design that we're used to seeing growing up, hard to like communicate that. You're like, it's a little like kid, but it's a little busy, like a lot of calligraphy, or you know what I mean? There's just a lot of things going on like these masjid flyers. I was like, how do you do that? Like that was something I was like Yusuf, why don't you take a stab at it? And he like did a great job. So it's like, yeah, it's hard to get the details right.
Good stuff. So, when I was watching it, obviously I could relate to it, and I'm sure Abbas could relate to a lot of stuff in there too. I know it's a lot of it is based on your real life experiences. So, how much is it, how much of the story
Yeah.
is 100% reality, and how much is it, did you fictionalize some things?
I think that like the basic stuff is maybe like, I would say like the basics of what happened in the movie. There's some version of that I've lived, like I did do theater in high school. I went to a high school with very few Muslims, like almost none really. And then especially when I was there, I think now probably there's a ton maybe at that same high school, but like when I was there were like a handful in the whole, like across all of the grades. And so and there's like some version of like an awesome huck that I like knew. I mean, maybe like 6 that I combined into one, I like people are amalgams usually, like, like I don't know, like the parents to me in the movie are like kind of like my parents, but not really. I don't know, like it's like you're taking pieces and then leaning into like also what the actors are bringing, so it becomes a part of them too. Like it becomes like they mix in with the vision, and then it becomes like a joint thing. So it's like you're taking all these, like I have like these real events that have happened in my life, and then like they get fictionalized, kind of put into a blender, and then like created into like a story that like has like a focus around it, and has like narrative drive, and has like, it's like a 3-act structure, and like you're taking your life and sort of remixing it. So it's not really anything that really happened, to be honest, but it's also like but it also is like there's a lot of truth to it. So it's a real complicated question, I guess. How much of it?
Yeah. So all of it was true, but none of it was real.
Yeah. Yes.
Well,
Amir
that's
Suleiman talks a lot about that with his themes because he's like,
Oh, okay.
everything in this dunya, is it true? It's true, it's happening, but is it real?
Ooh, that I love that.
Mm.
Yeah. I think a good movie or any good piece of fiction has to be based in truth, right? Like it
Yeah.
has to be based in like something that is true to something about the human experience or something about the like something about our existence in this universe. But it doesn't necessarily need to be literally like something that happened, right? So it's I think that's the challenge of like storytelling is like
Right.
truth, but of an experience, like the truth of growing up Muslim in the Bay Area during a specific time, like pre 9/11 and all that, like, and also like wanting to like follow a creative path, but not really sure how, or having outlets or whatever. Like, I think that's like maybe a true experience I was trying to capture, and like what it felt like to grow up in a Muslim community, like in a kind of like tight knit community, something that I haven't seen, at least like in the way that I experienced it on screen. I haven't seen it, so I was trying to like capture those things as like almost like put them on screen um, as a form of just to show like something that was like very true for me and a lot of people I grew up with, but I haven't seen it like shown like that, so those are things I was like thinking about. I guess those are like the truths I'm kind of going after, and like the awkwardness of growing up with sort of a dual identity, and
Yeah.
how do you like manage and what where do you like how do you I don't know, like define yourself and amongst amongst all of that. It's like something all first gen of any kind of immigrant background probably have some version of, where they kind of are trying to honor the tradition they come from, while also like the culture and tradition they come from, while also like um or treading new ground, and that I feel like is very much true, very true, or maybe even more heightened for like people who pursue the arts, because you're there's no path for you to follow. You have to kind of figure it out yourself. Those were the feelings I felt like could be contained within this film, and then kind of and then you just write, and then something comes out of that writing process, and then you make it, and hope that the spirit's still there at the end of it. So, yeah.
great. So, did you get any pushback from your old school Cordoba, aka Granada
Oh
school?
yeah. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what that.
All right. What about Cordoba? Is that Granada?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. All right, there we go.
I said I know Granada, but Cordoba.
That's hilarious.
Where did you say it again? Granada? It's called Granada?
Yeah, I caught that one. I caught that one.
Like
I said, wait a second. That sounds very familiar.
Well, I mean, it is based on Granada. I think that's like obvious to anybody because even like the way like those uniforms and stuff, they don't even use those uniforms anymore. But the uniforms were there during the 90s, I think even into the 2000s, and then I think they changed somewhere in the mid 2000s, like they changed their uniform. But so all of that was directly from like my experience. Pushback from them, I mean, I don't know, nobody's said anything yet.
Well,
maybe now they will. That
you got to do it. You have to do a big screening now. You got to go back to your old alma mater and say, "Hey."
Yeah, I felt a little like I'm still scared of people seeing it. People have seen the movie, but I'm scared of. I mean, my mom works at Granada, so I mean,
Wow.
she's the librarian there. But I feel scared of anybody watching this movie, especially like where I'm from, where I grew up, but especially Granada. I hope they like it. I hope they see what I'm trying to do with it. Like I wasn't really trying to, like I think that's the thing. It's like everybody might, you don't know what might rub someone the wrong way or something. The wrong way. So I was trying to like capture like sort of my own memories of going to Islamic school and like what
Yeah.
that was like, but that's my subjective vantage point. I'm like one
Yeah.
person
Yeah,
kind of,
no.
and I'm also trying to like tell a story about a kid, and so specific things have to happen. But I don't know what they would think of it, and
Yeah.
if somebody from Granada watched it, and uh, I don't know, the movie's not out yet, so it's like I guess once the movie's like really out,
Okay, yeah.
I'll really
No,
find out, and we'll have a part 2 to this maybe.
yeah, exactly. No, actually, I didn't think there was anything wrong with what you depicted in there. I mean, I think
Thanks. I hope.
anyone who kind of went to Sunday school or
Yeah, I
Islamic
feel like
school,
Yeah.
they could relate to a lot of the stuff happening, and and
yeah,
you did it in a way that was, like usually if it was done by a non-Muslim person who was making this, then there would be certain things that they would do
yeah.
that kind of would be in a negative way, but you kind of did it in a way that was still kind of respectful,
Okay, I
which is
appreciate that.
obviously because you're a practicing Muslim,
Yeah.
so you did it in a way that was, like you said, your own experiences, right? And there's a lot of the stuff like I was mentioning before, like I could relate to a lot I didn't go to a full-time Islamic school, but I went to public school, so I could relate to a lot of that stuff. But then on the community side, like my family went to dawats at
Yeah.
different people's houses, and
Mhm.
the same exact thing that you depicted, like I remember exactly those kind of things. Like
Mm.
the
Yeah.
boys went to the with the
Yeah, yeah,
boys, the
It's
girls
just
went with the
small things
girls.
like
Yeah.
that.
And
Yeah.
then we used to play that GoldenEye James Bond
yeah.
game. Same exact thing. I was like,
I know.
so it's like all
I
these.
had to put it on. It's like I almost had to document it. I was like, nobody's taken the Davat experience and put it into like a movie. So I was like, I have to do this because it's
Yeah,
like
that was.
it felt like, why hasn't that been? Because then it's like it's not even just like a Bay Area thing. It's like
Yeah.
I mean, people were like, oh, I grew up in Kuwait and that's what it was like. Like
Mm.
basically Kuwait. Like if you grew up anywhere in diaspora 90s,
Yeah.
that was happening everywhere. You know what I mean? Like those
Mhm.
little elements put into it, like culturally. So it felt like somebody should do something with that and show it like that. So I'm glad you enjoyed
Yeah,
that,
that
or
was
you
great.
related to it, because
That
it's
was
like,
great.
but
The
yeah, it's
golden
funny
eye.
how people like are like, wow, like it's
Yeah,
just
he's like he got it down. That was like realistic, and then also like the Toyota Previa minivan that all the Desis had. Like that's
oh man,
it.
yeah,
That's it. He got it down.
yeah. We had the California license plates for you.
Oh,
They
okay,
were for
okay,
you.
cool.
They weren't. We tried to get.
Represent,
Yeah.
represent.
But what did you say? You said something, and I wanted to say something about it. You went to the yeah. Oh yeah, you said like the way things are presented. Yeah, I mean, it's like I think about that, like how like you can present two very similar, like there could be like a version of this movie made by somebody else, and they would have like portrayed everything very differently. I think, like, or
Yeah.
they could have. And I think, like, as a Muslim storyteller, as a Muslim creative filmmaker, like you're like my goal with this film was not to like I'm not trying to offend anybody, like
Mhm.
I actually was hoping like this movie could be something that like could play in like a mainstream way, but then also like our families, like our parents, our like people could watch the movie too, and like
Yeah,
not have to feel like uncomfortable about
yeah,
it. You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like there's a lot of stuff out there that that is like that's like about Muslims or whatever, but then like you watch it and you're like, oh, this is like I can like I watch a lot of that stuff because but I wouldn't like expect like my parents to like sit and watch.
Yeah. Like as much as I love Rami, I wouldn't watch a single episode with my parents.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I mean. Like, and it's like, I love Rami, and I think it's an incredible like achievement in like Muslim storytelling, to be honest.
Yeah, seriously.
But at the same time, I'm like, could we make stuff that's like threading that needle or threading those needles where it's like you can like enjoy this in a broader sense with the community.
Yeah.
And that was sort of the goal. Like, I don't know, like I think the jury's out on with like Mustache if it kind of like works for that, but at the same time I was just trying to tell my story. So it's like but I think Muslim creatives don't have, it's like you don't have, like you feel a bit like you've got something on your shoulders, or you got to, you got to worry about representation. You got to worry about the way you're portraying the Muslim community, even though like technically as a creative, as a storyteller, as an artist, you should be free to like just kind of do what you feel like is like compelling to you, but at the
Yeah.
same time, like that you can't ignore, like, because we've been misrepresented for so long, and like there's a responsibility there, and so you're trying to live up to that too, of just like
Yeah.
things. So it's tough. I think we're still in that awkward time where we're still kind of self-conscious of what we're putting out. And I think in the future, inshallah, I think the ultimate goal should be like, we should be like freer to be as real as possible
Yeah.
about like everything. And I think that goes multiple different ways, and I think depending on the artist, they'll like go different ways with that. But I think there is like something to be said about like portraying lived reality of like practicing Muslims in like more authentic ways. Like there's ways to do that are actually deeper into the philosophical, deeper into the theological, deeper into the deeper understandings of Islam. Like there's ways to portray that in like really deep ways in cinema or in TV, but like we're still like there's a lot of things that like we're still in this awkward transition, right? I think where people are still a little bit self-conscious of like, how things are being shown because of obvious reasons, right? It's like you don't want to just be like showing like I don't know, I'm going to give some weird examples here, but it's like if you were to do a movie and you really wanted to do like a scene of a like Eid al-Adha, like about sacrificing animals, there's a part of you that's like, oh yeah, that's a part of our religion, and that's a part of our reality as Muslim. But then a part of you is like, should we show this?
Yeah, because it is relatable, like the excitement that a young boy has at the prospect of witnessing an animal sacrifice.
It's a big thing. It's a big event. It's
exciting. It's joyous. So, but we want the world. How are we going to let the world see it?
But that's what I'm saying. Like a part of the Muslim storyteller is like, should I do that, or because we can't? We're still like scared of what people are gonna think. So how do we be authentically ourselves with authentically like what we think, believe, how we practice? Like how do you put that into like a movie? I think that's still something I think about a lot. And also, I don't know if everybody would approach that differently, and they do approach that differently. But that's why I do respect, I mean, that we have to keep talking about Rami, but like, that's why I do respect like what like Rami is able to accomplish, because there's like a lot of deep discussion of spirituality and like actually traditional Islam within
juxtaposed with like affair scandals during Ramadan after Tarawih.
That's another thing, but like the heart of it is like the spiritual journey. And so I think like there's a really, that's why I give it all the props in the world, even though again, I cannot sit with my parents and watch this show. But so it's like that. But I do think like that's really cool, and I'm like, it makes me think like, what else could you do? I think like I like, how else can you like talk about
your next movie now? It has to be about Eid al-Adha now. You gotta have a character. The first time he goes and sees
yes. I can't wait to watch the slaughterhouse.
There's a be a halal in action.
Yeah, I guess, or maybe it's like just about halal meats.
Yeah, there you go.
That's kind of
first
what I'm
time.
Thinking, actually, I didn't even do that on purpose. But actually, my next project is sort of in that world. But
and I want to put a pin on that, because I do want to come back to talking about what's next, and it's actually perfect because we're talking about halal food and movies. Season 2 of the Artistic Foodies, which just ended, we've been exploring all sorts of these themes that you're talking about. We had, Kamran Pasha talking about Sleeper Cell 2005. Yeah. We had Zarqa talking about being the only writer of color, being the only woman, and being the only Muslim in the writer's room for Little Mosque on the Prairie.
That's crazy,
And then talking to Rizwan Manji about Charlie Wilson's War and everything he's done since then, and seeing him in Mustache, by the way, so different than
Oh,
any of
was-
his other roles.
That was
that's-
amazing.
Oh,
It was
okay.
a-
Yeah, we
amazing.
Rizwan and I worked really hard on trying to do something different. So it's
That
like,
and it was it really pulled off because the thing is like he's always so lighthearted, funny, almost like self-deprecating humor. And this was and kind of reminds me of like Jim Carrey when he does his serious roles.
Yeah. Yeah.
that's awesome. That's
Eternal
really-
Sunshine, Truman Show.
to to the movie. I think if it can feel like that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And Rizwan really smashed out the park with that. We're gonna touch upon the food thing real quick, and then I want to come back to hear more about what you're doing next. There's a lot of, and I think this is for me one of the things I appreciated the most about the writing is that there are so many tiny details, which are almost throwaway details, which are almost details that you won't even remember, that happen to be like part of this landscape, the brushstrokes of this landscape that makes it so relatable. I'll give you an example. When he goes off campus for food, he says, "Does the gravy have lard?" She said, "What?" And he says, "Never mind." And that was like the tiniest of interactions. But I was like, hold on, that part, that like sums up so much of my life that I didn't even know need to be expressed.
Like, I'm just not even gonna bother. That feeling. Yeah, oh man, I'm glad you I like that bit too. It's actually my voice. That's my voice.
Oh,
really?
I have a lot of voice cameos in the movie.
What does that mean? Does the gravy have lard in it?
I can check.
Never mind. I'll just take the mac and cheese, please.
But mashed potatoes, I don't know. They're good.
Yeah, that's cool that you picked up on that. And that, it's just like, I remember actually the original version of that scene, but we couldn't get the location was it was supposed to be at KFC. Okay, and the thing about, I remember it was like based on a real thing. Like I remember with my theater friends, they went to KFC, and I remember looking at the menu and being like, "Oh, there's literally nothing I can eat here." I think I got like
a biscuit. I've been there.
Yeah.
Why is this biscuit so dry?
I was like, I didn't realize, like, because it's like you go to McDonald's, you go to Burger King, you go to like a lot of chains. There's like a fish sandwich, or there's like you know what I mean. There's like something you can eat. You go to KFC, it's like there's really nothing to eat there if you eat Zabiha.
Yeah, you can't even have the mashed potatoes because the gravy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was like I just remembered that, like, clocked that memory really hard, I guess. And so when I was writing this movie, I was like thinking about that. So even in the script, it was KFC for like even while we were shooting, but we just couldn't get that.
Yeah.
We found like a diner that kind of had like 90s vibes.
Yeah.
But I kept that bit in there because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even just that part, because first he's like, "Let me ask," and it's almost like he can hear his parents' voice in his head, and just repeating everything he's seen. Then she's like, "Wait, what?" And then that's where his voice kicks in. He's like, "Do I actually really care about this?"
Yeah.
That becomes part of like erasing the rules, erasing the, all the different things that he had on the sheet of paper.
That's really interesting. Oh,
so it was, and so this is what I mean. Like, it was such a small line. It's like you blink and you miss it. But that part in particular really, really struck me. And then the other part that is part of the food as storytelling is the elaborate plan to convince his parents that he had a McDonald's burger.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, that is a very it's a halal eater's delight of a because it's like so specific. Like I remember I had a friend watch that, a Pakistani friend who watched the movie, and he watched it at a screening in LA. And he said he was shocked that, because it was like primarily non-Muslim, like it was an industry screening. So it was like primarily non-Muslim. And he's like, I get this, but like, how is everybody else also finding like, it's so specific, the logic of it, the like,
right?
You know what I mean? And so I was like, I think what was cool of what he was saying was like, it's like you're almost like playing it, you're doing something that you're opening up like a door to like a type of humor or a type of specificity with how like being Muslim can be like, you can like make jokes about it while also like being respectful towards it, while also like it's like I that's what I found exciting about that bit on the page. And like it's been a delight to see like rooms full of, like, you were there at South by, so it's like you saw like, it's like people like can get this stuff. They don't need to be spoon fed, I guess. You know, you can like find a way to make it relatable to them.
Yeah, and I think like what was really interesting for me about that part is you could tell he still has his morality or some sort of like pull towards the straight path, you know, how he understands it, because it's kind of like he went through all of these troubles to convince his parents that he ate a Big Mac.
Yeah.
He won't eat a Big Mac.
Yeah.
He won't cross that line.
So did you actually do that in real life?
No, I mean that's you know, artistic license, I guess. I think the true part about that sequence is that I think the true part of that is like I remember being like my first week of high school being very isolated because everybody else had come from like a middle school where they already knew each other. I came from Islamic school, like I didn't know anybody, and I felt very isolated, and I felt like I was like teased a little bit. I felt very like I just had this like strong feeling of like, oh, like as much as I didn't like or I resented having gone to Islamic school or being in Islamic school or wanting to get out of Islamic school, now faced in this reality, I had this feeling like this like really like just like this feeling of wanting to go back to Islamic school, or at least like feeling like that was a place I didn't feel like alone like I do here in a different way. And so that was the feeling that I was trying to, and then and obviously I wanted to find a funny way for him to like have like kind of a silly plan to go back. But yeah, none of that like literally happened, but it's more like, yeah, again, like the kind of like emotional truth of it that I was after.
Imran J Khan received a film scholarship in 2012 from ISF, the Islamic Scholarship Fund. What started as a scholarship program has now evolved into so much more. ISF supports American Muslims in the most critical parts of their career development through academic scholarships, mentorships, internships with federal, state, and district judges, fellowships with Congress, writer labs, film grants, and so much more. ISF has awarded over $2.5 million in awards to nearly 600 American Muslim applicants since its inception in 2009. ISF has also empowered over 99 filmmakers with financial support and mentorship who have produced over 200 films collectively to date. To learn more or to donate to ISF, go to www.islamicscholarshipfund.org. And now back to the show.
And so I know you've talked in little bits and pieces about what this movie means to you personally, but I'm curious just to know, like, if you have a simple answer, why did you make this movie?
Oh, man, there's like I feel like there's two ways I could answer that. One, and I'll give you both, but like one is just like creatively on my creative journey as like a filmmaker, there's a reason. And then there's like a deeper reason, that there's a deeper, more personal reason, like aside from that. But I would say like creatively, like where I was at was I had done a bunch of stuff that was like surreal comedy, heightened comedy, high concept, like a little bit of sci-fi, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I had never really made anything that was like directly about my life. And I reached a point where I felt the best thing I could produce was diving, instead of kind of running away from myself as like a human being and as an artist, like diving deeper into myself and like pulling out things that felt very real and authentic to me and my experience, and my experiences. And like, I felt like that was like something I could offer in the best way, like as a filmmaker, instead of like doing something once removed from myself. And that was like what started me in wanting to. And I just felt like what's what they say, it's the cliche, write what you know. That's like kind of the best place to start as a writer. And I also thought, well, it's really hard to make a movie, and it's even harder if you're writing something that you don't fully know the world of or you don't know about. And so I felt like the best shot I had at making something good that people could connect with was just like doubling down on my own experience. And so that was a big part of it. And then deciding like, what do I want to, like, what part of my life, or what would I want to like share. And it was, again, like, it's something people say, like, sometimes the hardest thing to write about is probably the thing you should write about. And for me, that trend, like, I had kind of blocked out the memories of like what it felt like to go from Islamic school to public school, because it was like awkward, and it was like it was like I yeah, I mean, you're dealing with feeling different and weird and all that stuff, and I just kind of like moved on from that, and I just never thought about it anymore. And then when I was thinking, I was like, oh, that feels like the most uncomfortable place to start for a story for me personally. And I was like, maybe that's a good reason to do it. Maybe there's something more there, to uncover. And I think what I realized ultimately was there was this great metaphor there, actually. So like, yeah, like, you didn't literally go from Islamic school to public school in your life, but, or in, in like, for example, the audience's life, but you have experienced probably juggling two worlds of some kind. And I feel like physically they're almost like two worlds. It's like Islamic school is one complete environment and sort of like the Muslim community. And then there's like public school, what there's like you could say is like a stand-in for like Western society or something. And there's these like two things you're trying to hold and like navigate. And like the dichotomy of the two schools and wanting to go back to the old school and the reasons why, and like all of that, like kind of psychology. I felt like there was like a metaphor there that was really interesting, like, and deeper than just like about the schools. It's like, so I felt like, oh, this is something, like this is why probably I should make this movie, and so there's things that you uncover, and then like even like maybe you're in, I mean, I don't know, I try not to like psychoanalyze myself too much, but like probably there's something about like struggling with like embarrassment, struggling with like feeling like an outsider, and like maybe not have, like, me as a human being, maybe not fully maybe if I haven't fully like reconciled that, to explore that for myself, like just to like, because ultimately, like, I still feel like I'm awkward in all scenarios or something, like to I don't know, maybe too practicing for the Hollywood world, and maybe not practicing enough for like the masjid or something. I don't know. Like, I still feel
That's it. No, that's exactly it.
I feel like I don't really have that kind of like a place that makes sense for me all the way. I mean, I think you build that. But like, I mean, I have grown to attract, and vice versa. I've been attracted to and attract people who are thinking similarly, at least about like how art, creativity, and Islam intersect. So I have there are people that are really inspiring to me, and that I have built that kind of like weird community with. But because I feel like always, like, honestly, I do this now. This is like I feel like I downplay my practice. I downplay my practice in secular spaces. I don't talk about much, like in terms of like what being Muslim is to me, or like how I am Muslim. So I don't know. I live the movie.
That's it. And like, that's the thing, is like, we talk about representing the human experience, and like and putting that burden on your shoulder, and like trying to get it perfect. But at the end of the day, you are a human. and you had that experience. So whatever you end up saying will be your human.
There's got to be a truth to it, right? There's got to be a truth to anybody. That's why I try not to knock other people's like things, you know, like where I think a lot of us we're like Muslims, we're Muslim creatives, or we're Muslim people who consume media, and we're like very like judgmental of other expressions of people's versions of like Muslim characters on screen or whatever. And my answer has always been really simple to all of that. It's just like, well, then, you know, you go out and you make your own thing then, right? Like, I think that's like, if you don't like the way something is, like, use that as a learning point to make your own thing. But like, there's no point in like knocking somebody else's thing, because ultimately, to what you said, it's like somebody's experience. And if it's true to them, who can say like, that's wrong or right or whatever. It's like, that's their human experience. Like, I feel like there has to be some room to like accept that, even if you don't like what they're saying, I think.
Yeah.
You know, like,
and I mean, that's why like Rami got, you remember the backlash that it got? For every loud voice.
The backlash is only from like a small group of like Muslim people, right?
You know, but here's the thing, the people who did relate to it, they're not going to talk about it and out themselves to everybody.
No,
so,
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, like, I smashed during Ramadan too. Ha ha ha. Relatable. Yeah. You know, your parents are listening. Stop talking.
That's funny. Because nobody wants to be like, oh, like but I feel like everybody can relate to wanting to be like, at least every practicing Muslim can relate to wanting to be a better Muslim and failing. I mean, who can say they can't relate to that? If you're trying to be a better Muslim, like, you know what I mean? Like,
subhanallah. Wow. We'll put that part in the trailer.
No. The khutbah that's just about Rami. Imagine that.
Yeah, we're trying to get Rami on the show too. So
I don't think we've mentioned any piece of media on this podcast more than we've mentioned Ram, because he came out like, you know, when he came out, he's like, I'm just gonna go all the way over there.
Oh yeah. Like I might be hyperbolic when I say this, but I think there was Muslims in like popular culture, like there was Muslim storytelling. There's like two phases of art as Muslims. There was like art before Rami came out. That might sound crazy. I just believe it. I believe it because it's like he changed what you could do. It's like
it was a watershed moment.
It was, and it's like, I know that might sound ridiculous. Yeah, no, I don't know. That's my belief, and I've said it now, and it's on a podcast now. But I can't take it back.
Pre-Rami,
it's gonna be posted
after post-Rami.
Pre-Rami, PR.
I just think it's true though, because it's like I never seen. I don't know. We don't even talk about Rami so much, but like I'd never seen like I couldn't imagine before like a spiritual journey being like something that like that could be like a mainstream show and like in the West.
Or like think about like We Are Lady Parts coming out after that versus like the whole Taqwa core movement that was
way earlier.
Way earlier, and that was way ahead of its time, right?
Yeah, it was way ahead of its time. I mean, oh my god, I think I haven't recovered. I don't think I've recovered from the first like reading Taqwa Cores, like the book, like the novel. I've not recovered from that because it was such a like explosive in all ways. Like I don't think I was ready for it. Yeah. I don't think I understood everything about it, but I knew it was like it did do something to me. So that was a long time ago, and I don't think it was big enough to like. It's like I think Rami and Lady Parts are both more mainstream than that novel was, or even like which I've never seen actually. I've never seen the movie.
Oh, the movie is great.
Okay.
I mean, there's this part, right, where like in the movie where like, you know, one guy's getting up for Fajr, there's two guys like outside on the roof, and one of them's like reading the Quran with a blunt in his hand.
Yeah.
Right, and then Jahangir is standing there with his guitar, and then he pops his head out. Stop playing music! It's Fajr time. Oh, it's Fajr time. Well, then let me lead the call to prayer, and he does the azan on the electric guitar.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. I think it's in the book. Yeah.
That part of the movie, like actually hearing it, it's like, whoa, hold on.
Yeah, I gotta watch the movie. I guess again, because I wasn't ready for it. I almost couldn't handle like watching a movie of it.
Yeah.
But I'm not putting a positive or negative thing on that. I'm just saying it was a lot. It's a lot. And like, if you're like a traditional Muslim and you read that book, you're just like, what?
Astaghfirullah. Like
in all ways,
all kinds of haram.
in all kinds of ways. I don't even know if I was like, oh, this is haram or something. I think I was just like, it was so much that I was like, I need to like not think about this or something.
Yeah.
I think now I can think about it in a different way or something. Yeah.
Right. It's just like my brain could not compute all the different ways
there was like
that Islam was being experienced.
Yeah. And I think it's like now I'm like, I think I'm like, I don't know, I want to get into like my religious views or something, but like, I just feel like there is something like in the multiplicity of the way cultures can experience and express Islam. There's an incredible beauty with that, and there's an incredible way that happens. Like I've like lived overseas. Like I lived in Singapore, so I was exposed to like Muslim Malay culture, and just seeing that flavor of Islam. Like they have, for example, it's not unusual for like women to be singing nasheeds there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's just different. It's just like, oh, okay, that's different
even the aesthetic. Like Malay Muslims will have the hijab and then the half sleeves, which in a Desi household you can. It's like, hold on, that doesn't really add up,
I'm just saying, it's like, oh, okay, like I'm not that again. It's like it's not about like for me like thinking in terms of fiqh and like what should or should. I don't know about that, but I'm saying like just as a Muslim being in like one specific environment where you have like one idea of like the way Islam's expressed, and then you go to different parts of the world and you see like different things the way Islam's. I think that's cool. Like I think Taqwa Course is like an insane fantasy version of that. They had like, I mean, if I remember from the book, like there's like the straight up like Deobandi like group too. There were like different groups. I don't know what's in the movie, but like like these different groups. Some of them are like conservative Muslim.
Straight edge was part of the punk movement, right?
Yeah, straight edge. Yeah, there's a straight edge, and then there's like all these different. There's like obviously the weed smoking group, and then there's this and that. So it's like there's all these different flavors, and they're like all kind of fantasy groups.
Yeah.
Right? Most of them, at least some of them, don't exist in real life, or they.
But then it became a self-fulfilling prophecy because once that came out, others are like, "Hold on, like I've been hiding this."
And the Cominas and like there's like actual bands that came out of like reading the book and being like, "Oh, this could be a real thing."
Isn't that insane?
Like Mohamed Knight, I mean, he did something. He really did something. I saw his book. I used to work at at a show that Matt Groening was the creator of called Disenchantment on Netflix, and Matt Groening, obviously the creator of The Simpsons, has his legendary kind of in the animation and like sort of comedy world. But I remember being in his. I used to pray in his library, in the upstairs of that building. I would pray until I got a door on my office. Like my office didn't have for like the first like a month or 2 or 2 months. Literally no door, and I was like, I kind of need a place to like pray or whatever. And so then I asked. They said I could just pray in his he had like this library, but in his library was one of Michael Muhammad Knight's books, and I was like, oh, that's
no way. Which one?
What's the one called the White? Was it Blue-Eyed Devil? Was it Blue-Eyed Devil? Anyway, it's one of his books. But anyway, that's a side note. You can cut that one out. I don't know where I was going with that. But I was just like, I think it's cool that one of his novels was in Matt Groening's library.
Yeah.
But
And I mean, like, but there's something to be said, right? Like, to go back to the point of like, these are, instead of looking at like just taking a pause from looking at it as halal and haram, like, let's
yeah,
get the
yeah,
fiqh out of here just for a moment and realize that there's all these different ways of actually experiencing Islam.
yes, yeah, yeah,
And that makes it so, and it just like, it seems so obvious now when you look at it from this lens, but even just the idea of accurate Muslim representation. If everyone has their own experience of Islam, then what the heck even is Muslim
yeah,
representation?
yeah. It can't represent all
It's a
Muslims.
fallacy. Like, even just that concept is a
Yeah, it's
fallacy. You know, the dichotomy of like the good Muslim, bad Muslim, which came out of like 9/11. It's like,
Yeah,
we are the good Muslims. Look at us.
Yeah,
we
yeah,
eat
yeah.
ice cream too. We're just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you.
Oh my god! I was so happy when that was done.
Yeah.
'Cause I was like, I don't think this is like it's like condescending to us or something.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
I was like, can't we just talk about like what we believe and stuff like that? You know what I mean?
That,
Like,
yeah, that's the thing. Because I was around the time, I think it was like, sorry, say that part again.
I'm saying it's like it's more interesting and it's deeper to be like we have deep beliefs that are like that we should be like talking about and sharing and like because we have like a philosophical framework that's like interesting. So it's like if you can dive into that, that's why I think again it's like hard to like Rami's going there. He's like even this and like this is why
Season 3, the beach scene, like that drove it home.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So, but anyway, like, it's like, can we do something more than just like, oh, Muslims like ice cream too? That's such a great example, actually.
I feel like this episode we're gonna call it "Talking with Imran about Rami and occasionally Mustache."
Embarrassing.
Rami.
It's embarrassing. I should be my own person and not just somebody who talks about Rami. Just a Rami fan. I don't. It's weird.
No, this happens in almost all of our episodes, dude. Don't even worry about it.
No. Well,
what were like? What was?
I'll just add something because this came up recently. So you know, when you talk about when I or other people talk to non-Muslims about Islam, they're very surprised at how diverse it is and it based on a lot of different interpretations and legal rulings, and there's a lot of flexibility, right?
Yeah.
So even Muslims, especially Desi Muslim,
Yeah.
they don't even know that, right? They just have their one or two ways of thinking, and then anything that doesn't fit in that bubble is haram, and they're not a real Muslim, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And it's like, so we have to even educate our own people. Like we have an episode that we did, episode 4, where we talk about the evolution of the shawarma, but we are also talking about the guitar, right?
Oh, right.
Which was invented, or it was the ancestor of the guitar was the oud, invented by Arab Muslims, right? So it's like we got to look back at our history, right? There's all these kind of things which our people don't even know about. So let's learn about the history and how we developed all these art forms. And the main purpose was to glorify Allah, glorify God, and to express beauty. This is part of our religion, right? So this is something that I always try to educate people about. And sometimes when like it came up recently, we had a Eid festival at a local mosque, and someone was complaining that one of the vendors was playing some music, instrumental music, right? nothing wrong about it, but somebody came and said, "Oh, why are you playing music in the masjid?" First of all, it's not in the masjid, it's in the parking lot. It's celebrating Eid, right? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he allowed the Ethiopian Muslims who were coming into the masjid to celebrate like a wedding or something, and they were doing a dance performance inside the masjid, right? he allowed that because it's part of their culture, and they're having a celebration, and nothing wrong with that. So it's like we can't have any kind of entertainment or music or form of celebration on Eid.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
This is the same kind of thing that
yeah,
we
yeah, yeah.
have to deal with, these kind of things, right?
And that's
So
why that stuff is hard too, because it's like you're never going to satisfy everybody. I think it's the same thing with making a movie or making a show or something. It's like everybody can come out of the woodwork and say, "Oh, why did you do this? Why did you do that?" And it's like, well, and that's why I think back to that original point is like all you can do is represent your own specific, viewpoint, or I mean, not even viewpoint, your experience, and and then at least you have that leg to stand on. If somebody says, "Hey, well, why did you show this?" I'm like, "Well, that's what it was like for
yeah,
me." So I
exactly.
don't. What do you want me to? Do you want me to like like be dishonest and like show it this way when I never experienced it that way or whatever? Like I think like that's the only thing that I feel is possible for Muslim storytelling, because people are very just ready to jump and like be critical, and so it's like, and that's fine, but I think the maybe the onus, or maybe the responsibility for the Muslim storyteller to is to be really, really like even more kind of true to themselves than they would have
Yeah,
had to be, because then it's like, well, you're probably going to tell a better story, but also there's no people can't come at you and be like, why did you show that? Which is like, I don't know, but I don't know. And it's like even in something like if you don't like what's being portrayed for on like religious grounds or something like that, then I think like sometimes there's no complexity with the way people are critiquing either, where there's like, it's like just because you're showing something doesn't mean you're encouraging it. You could be showing, like, there are many things like in like Islam, like there are many narrations like either from the hadith literature or from just the like stories from saints, stories from uh all parts of Islam that have things in them that like about people doing haram things, and then what happens, like either they come back to God or they don't, and like
there's a
what happens.
lesson. Yeah, there's a
It's like a lot.
lesson.
So you're,
Yeah,
it's like that's our entire tradition is like about that. So it's like if somebody chooses to tell a story where somebody does something haram or something like risque or whatever, like there should be some awareness of like, it's not just showing something. It's about what is the story saying about that thing.
yeah.
If the story's like, this guy's screwing up, like that's the lesson of it or whatever.
What's the moral of the story?
Yeah, I
What's the
mean, it's like
moral
there's
of the
no
story?
complexity there. It's just like, oh, well, you showed this thing, and now that's
Yeah,
automatically you're promoting it.
yeah, yeah,
And it's like,
exactly.
is that really like how deep we think about things? Like as Muslims or as people, like shouldn't we think a little deeper than? I don't know. That's just me on like
So
sometimes I
speak.
critiques.
So speaking of how people react to things,
Yeah.
you have some in the story in the Mustache film. Coming back to the Mustache film, you have a lot of scenes which relatable to a lot of us growing up. Is some friction between your parents and the main character Ilyas, specifically the father,
Mm,
played by Rizwan Manji. So, how did your parents, specifically your dad,
yeah.
how did he react to that kind of
Oh, man.
portrayal?
Yeah, so I'll tell you how it came to be, or how
Did he
like
give you a tupper?
what?
Did he give
Yeah,
you a
yeah, I was
tupper?
expecting it. I was ready for it. I was sitting there. I was at the premiere. I was expecting. No, I thought I think I was like, yeah, you know what? Like, I think the premiere went really well. My dad didn't slap me. Like, it went like pretty, like that's my bar for like. didn't reach across and just give me one like right in the middle of. No, my dad knew, like my parents knew what the movie was about. I've been talking about it for years. Like, okay, and it's about this and it's about that. So they knew generally what it was about. They knew that like people were going to like kind of play them in a movie. But at some point, I mean, I wanted them to read it, but then I had my brother read the script just to see if he thought it was fine or he thought he was like anything I should really be like, what is that? He thought it was fine, and then I felt good enough about it to be like, and then I didn't want to show them like an in-process cut of the movie either.
Yeah.
So I was like, I might cut something out anyway for story reasons. So I didn't want them like if they didn't like something in there to then get worried about that, even because like it's like I'm still working on it, and so then I was just like, I think I'm just gonna wait for them to see it when it's done, and so they and then it was done, but we hadn't premiered it yet at the festival, and so then I was like, well, they might as well see it in the best way, which is like at the premiere and not like a link beforehand, and like it's like I feel like that wouldn't be a good way to watch it. So it really then became their first time watching it was my dad's first time watching it was at in Austin at South by Southwest at the premiere. So, you know, I was nervous about it, but I was also like, I just, from showing the movie to a lot of Muslims, like I had done test screenings with Muslims. I was just like, I don't think this is like a movie that like is that kind of a movie that's going to like upset somebody. Plus, I felt like these things that I'm portraying in the movie, one, they're very fictionalized, and two, they happened so long ago now. I mean, it's like 20, 25 years ago for when I was 13 is a long time ago. I don't want to do that math, but it's a long time ago. And so I was kind of like, it just doesn't feel like it has the same power over any of us. Probably my dad included, where he's like so past a lot of this stuff, like the hard teenage years of child rearing. I don't even think those are things he has, like, you know, so
I'm sure he's blocked out those traumatic memories.
Yeah, I mean,
raising a teenager.
What did he tell you? What did he tell you after seeing?
Well, I mean, he said it was good, and he, I think ultimately it's like it wasn't just about the movie. I think it was like him seeing me work towards something for a really long time, and so I think it was like a recognition there of that, and just knowing that like how long I've been at this thing, and this was like a big manifestation of that. But also like the movie itself, like I feel like he saw like I don't know if he got everything in the movie maybe, but like I think what he got from the movie was like positive. He did say you know the movie was good, but in real life my business was very successful.
that's what I was thinking when I watched it, because I don't know how
I mean, I had to make it. That's what I mean. It's a movie, right? So you're like you're creating a story, so it's not going to be exactly like his life. I mean, nor was it like my life. I think that's the thing. All the characters are fictionalized, and also like Rizwan brought his own spin on it. That was something me and Rizwan talked about. I was like, because Rizwan is naturally like a very comedic person.
Yeah.
I was like, I think it'd be interesting. Like we had this conversation where we talked about like when he came on board, like what that could look like and how the character might change. Like I think in the script he was much more like just this like kind of like a stern, like less emotional father, I guess. But then when Rizwan Manji came on, it was like, well, how do we make Rizwan Manji, like what's the version of this movie where Rizwan Manji like brings everything that like brings himself to it, like what's that fusion? And like part of that was like maybe there's like this character's like he's kind of like feels a bit like like outside of the house people don't take him seriously. It's like in that boardroom scene, he doesn't feel like he's being taken seriously. Like in the world, like his business isn't doing that great, like he's like self-conscious about that, like maybe like the toupee is part of that, like like all like this like but inside the house that's like a place where he can exert like authority. So playing with that, and that was something me and Rizwan Manji talked about, and I feel like that was like how we kind of like made the character feel like a Rizwan Manji character, but then also still part of the movie. You know what I mean? You're trying to do a bit of a Rubik's Cube there of like like trying to bring everything you can, like you want an actor to bring them their whole self to it, and then you also want to tell the story, and so you're figuring out that thing. I think we figured out like a cool mix of it, because Jen became not really my dad, but still something that felt really authentic, because it was a little more based on maybe like Rizwan Manji's dad or something.
Right.
It was like a mix, and I think that's the creative process. It's a collaboration. So I think that like that. So that's why maybe another reason, like it's like my dad watching the movie is like he can recognize some part of himself there, but really it's like a fictionalized character, and I think we all have distance from that time, and so it's like it wasn't this like scary thing that I thought it was going to be, which was like, is he going to reach across and slap me? You know, like that didn't happen, and that's because I think he kind of maybe was mentally prepped for it enough, but also like it's like we're all able to maybe watch it as a movie and not our lives.
Fictional story. Yeah, fictional story. No, that was good. That's good.
Sort of riffing off of the theme of parents' acceptance, in the movie, Ilyas had a very clean resolution. I think when his dad gives him the shaver, like that is a moment of resolution, and it's kind of it's like, you know, the end of it's almost like Inception. It's like the end of it, like did it fall? Did it not? Is he in a dream? Is it not? Yeah. So at the end of Mustache, you know, I feel like I'm just giving it away by talking about it, but it's like, did he shave or did he not?
Yeah, I mean, I think the way yeah, it's a little bit of spoiler alert. Maybe skip this if you haven't seen the movie, but
I'll cut that part out.
The true filmmakers never tell the secret at the end. You know, you have to leave the audience guessing what happens, right?
Yeah, well, it's also like I think the movie is, like you said, the movie is done at the dad's acceptance, right? So it's like at that point of like just the dad kind of like recognizing his son in that new way. I think the movie is done. Now, if he shaves the mustache or not, there's like something interesting either way, and I didn't want to limit it to be just like if he doesn't, then there's something about like kind of accepting that what he looks like, and just owning it. There's something about that. And that's something reflected in his performance too. Right. Like, he hugs the mustache. So it's like he reconciles with it, right? And so there's something really cool about that if that's what that is. And if he does shave it in that moment, then there is a threshold to adulthood that's crossed.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like there's no wrong answer. And there's no idea.
And that's why I was like, I think it's better this way. I think it's better without you, because then you can like you can. I think movies are good when like the audience, like the filmmaker has given the clarity of the story and the themes and like all of that is there, and then the audience can like still has room to interpret something more.
Right, because like some people in the audience shaved their mustache and had that moment. Some people in the audience didn't, and both of those are okay. But this wasn't even my question. Okay, we got to focus.
Now you can have a sequel. She can have a sequel now. Mustache 2, Shave Harder.
Yeah.
Much nahi to kuch nahi, right?
It's just called Beard. And it's like 9/11 happens. And
there you go.
Okay, but here's the actual question.
Return to Ilyas after 9/11. Now he has to decide if he's really a Muslim to grow his beard or he's going to blend in.
Okay, so that moment of receiving the shaver for him was a very clear moment of resolution. So many of us growing up never got that moment, and we keep searching for it. And so much of what we experience in our childhood does shape the way we live as adults. Whether that's, wanting to seek approval from authority figures in your life, like whatever it is. Do you feel like you had a clean resolution in your childhood, or is this in a way a moment of resolution for you that closes the circle?
Let me ask. So are you talking about shaving my mustache? Or are you talking about a bit broader than that?
Broader than that.
Moment of
We're
resolution.
talking about parents, or even very specifically fathers' acceptance being that resolution.
I think I had different. I had that at different times. Like I had multiple milestones of that. Probably with my own dad, like where different forms of like acceptance or support, especially on my creative path, that were like that signaled that, like maybe like me going to film school, because my dad was very supportive at that time of leaving to go to film school, and so that was like a big like acceptance of like what I wanted to do and who I was and like all that. So I felt that, and then but then there's like different at different points. I think honestly, like this movie, I mean, when the movie ends and I realized I didn't get slapped today.
Today was a good day.
there's a form of acceptance of like watching the film and being like, oh, that was really good. Like you did a good job with that. Like I think like different times there's been different moments of acceptance and moments of this journey because it's hard. I think it is hard for Desi parents to like accept like a kid who wants to have a creative career. So I think I've had different levels of acceptance at different times as I've been on this journey, and it's been a long journey. I feel like I've been making films for like 20 years now. So I mean, no, it's like true. I made a film. The first video or any kind of thing I made was when I was 17, and I'm 37. So it's been a long time, and so and a lot of, and part of that was I mean, my parents very begrudgingly let me do theater in high school. They did like show up to my plays, some of them.
Yeah.
That was a big deal. I was like, wow, and they were very impressed by it, to see me in a play, So I think that was something. And that's maybe partly what inspired stuff in the movie. And then I just remember, like, I don't know, I feel like Irfan, you might know exactly what I'm talking about, but like there was like this might be more of an MCA thing than an SBA. It might be an SBI thing too, but where it's like there'd be like skit night, or like there'd be like a youth iftar or something, and then be like teenagers would do skits and stuff like that. And so like the awkwardness of like what I had like very bizarre ideas of what to perform in front of like the Muslim community. Most never saw the light of day, but they were like, as I was like, oh, it'd be cool to do some weird kind of avant-garde, like very like artistic thing, that, but I'm glad I didn't do it.
And his mustache on the stage.
Yeah, like, or whatever. Like I had these things of like very like Andy Kaufman-esque or like whatever. Like I had these ideas and like I never really did them. But I thought, oh wow, this is gonna be so great, And I did some of that stuff in high school, like actual in classes in high school, I would do things and people would be like, what is that? And I felt like that was what inspired, so that and performance of like doing something very bizarre, but like thinking really it could be good. And my parents sort of seeing that and like how they sort of would take that in and see it, is like maybe what was in the movie was inspired by that, but yeah, I don't know. And as far as like moments of these resolutions, I feel like as you maybe it's a lifelong thing, it's not like a one-time thing of your dad or your mom or anybody who are these people in your life, like to like kind of see and accept you or whatever, and then I think it's like an ongoing thing. Like there's it's not like a one moment, maybe in the movie it's one moment, it's one scene, but I think in real life maybe it's like an amalgam of moments or multiple moments over the course of years, maybe.
From the perspective of the Muslim artist's journey, the most common narrative is all of these voices telling you not to do that. For every person that has supportive parents like that, there could be hundreds that didn't. Tons of artists that will never get to see their art. So I want to thank you for making this, and I hope that all of those kids get to see this so that your voice could cut through the noise and inspire the next generation of Muslim artists. So, thank you.
That unlocked a memory for me. I remember I was doing undergrad at UC Santa Cruz, and I had a monologue in a play, and my whole family drove all the way down to Santa Cruz to watch it. And I had like a 5-minute segment, and that's it. But like just knowing that they watched it, and like,
yeah, that's a big moment. That's what I mean. Yeah. For me, the first thing I did was high school. I was a senior. I did theater as a senior in high school. Different from the movie. We did Three Musketeers, and I played two or three parts, because there's so many parts in that play. Actually, like everybody played like 3 or so parts because there's just so many like characters in that play. But but I didn't have much major anything in the movie in the play, but it meant a lot that like my family came.
yeah.
And I had an awkward. I think now I'm thinking about it, I'm like unlocking some memories for myself. I was supposed to have a kiss in that play. And I was like, I think I remember telling my like drama teacher, I was like, I don't know if my parents are gonna let me do that, even though like I didn't want to do it. So that's like the weird I think that inspired like sort of that moment when they're doing the theater exercise in the movie where you're like, it's like I don't know, like it's a very weird experience actually.
Yeah.
And because one thing I wanted to show with the movie is like it's not just like the pressure of parents. I think if you grow up sort of like Muslim in a certain way, there's a self-imposed pressure as well. So It's not just like, it's not just like, as long as my parents don't see me do this, let's do it. It's not like that. I don't think so, at least. I think there's some part of it that's like, there is, I mean, I could talk about it from like an Islamic point of view, but like if you grow up with some level of taqwa, like it's there.
Yeah. The taqwa in your core.
Yeah,
oh my god. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, anyway.
So you've lived now. You're from the Bay Area. You shot in Toronto. You're living in LA now.
I've been in LA since 2015.
Since 2015.
I haven't lived in the Bay Area for over 10 years now. Very bizarre.
So you've been in LA for the last 8 years.
He was in Davis.
And I was in Singapore before that.
Too.
I lived in Singapore, and then I really left the Bay in 2012. That's when I like stopped living in the Bay Area, and I go there a lot. My parents, my siblings, my in-laws are there, so I go there a lot.
Oh, great! Well, in that case, this will be a 2-part question.
Yeah.
Part 1: what are your favorite halal spots in the LA area? And part 2 is what about the Bay?
I gotta go with BKH, Biryani Kebab House in Koreatown in LA. It was like we used to live close to there until recently, and so it's like I got a lot of memories there. It was our spot. It was kind of like where we would get Desi food from. That's a big one. There's
BKH represent.
Does Creekstone count? What are we counting here?
Yeah, Creekstone. Right. We'll let our listeners make their own decisions. The next one is Creekstone. Creekstone, sponsor us, please.
There's, I guess, like I cut red meat out a while ago, but but prior to that, like I Hi Ho Burger.
Man after my own heart.
Yeah, that one's a good one. LA, let me think. LA.
I could straight up just like smash 3 double-decker Hi Ho cheeseburgers in a row and still want more.
Pretty good. It's pretty delicious.
I still have to try it. I haven't tried it yet.
There's so many places. But I'm like a bad foodie. I'm not the person who should be on this podcast, to be honest. Like people always ask me about food here and there, wherever, and it's like in Toronto, somebody asked me, and I never disappointed somebody so like I felt so bad for both of us, but like this girl from Toronto was like asking me about, because she's from Toronto. Yeah, she's from Toronto, and she was just like, "Oh, what kind of places did you eat there?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, I went to this one place. I can't remember the name of it. Oh, I think it was called and I really liked it. It was called Paramount." And he's laughing because it's like a chain.
Yeah.
It's like it's not the place that like, a foodie will laugh in your face, and then they'll be like, "Come on!" Like it's like I killed the conversation. I've disappointed this person. Like I feel like I was there for 2 months and I wasted my life there. Like it was really bad. So
you should have asked me, man. I could have gave you. We have
I went to places. I just don't remember them, or I don't like. I didn't like. I wasn't like. I was in a different mindset. I was like there in a very stressful time in my life to make this movie. So I thought that would be an adequate answer, and it wasn't.
What about the Bay Area? I mean, growing up, you got the nostalgia factor.
The thing is, like, I'm gonna give my Rex based on 10 years ago. Because in that, I don't know if the quality
folks take this with a pinch of salt or maybe a pinch of MSG.
The quality is down. Like it used to be good, right? That's the thing I hear. Everybody says that about like all the like a lot of the great places, but I mean, it's like Shalimar was a big the different locations. I know there's different ones. I know I'm gonna give you like
you're disappointing Abbas now.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like I feel like this is my legacy.
Don't say Top Deck Deli because they're closed down now.
Oh no. I mean, I wasn't Top Deck. That's fine.
Or Pizza and More. They're also
and More throwback. That's like the world of the movie. That's like Mustache time period.
That's 1990s. Yeah.
It was the only like halal place during that time in that area. I should say I'm gonna go back to LA real quick. Nomad's really good in Long Beach. Great. That's I just started.
And that's a bit of a chain too. Like the same family, I think they have 3, but they're all divorced from each other now.
Yeah, they're not the same though. I think
one in San Diego, if you ever get a chance.
I've not been there.
It's called
Maz.
They changed your name.
The one in Orange County is called Maz.
Maz, yeah, I've been that one too.
So Maz House in San Diego, they have this oxtail noodle soup. They've got the short ribs. Wait, you cut out red meat? We might have to make an exception.
I do make an exception for Eid, like Eid al-Adha. Like, all right, that's the time for red meat.
Great, it's coming up. Me too.
Gotta have that goat, man.
My uncle's Nahari is so. It was like at the time that I made this like kind of lifestyle change.
Yeah,
I was like I won't eat meat except Eid, and then or a red meat and my uncle's Nahari because it's my Khalu's Nahari because it was like I was just like I'm not gonna cut that out. It's so good, and he actually sells it. So I'm plugging.
Where in San Jose?
The name of
or Bay Area?
They're in SoCal. Oh, okay. It's available to purchase now. That's why. But maybe we'll I'll plug it later.
Okay, you can check.
I should have this ready, like a plug for.
You can always check if you need some more locations in Southern California. You can check the artisticfoodies.com/map. We got a map, Google Map with a bunch of places. We have one. We even have a section for road trip from from the Bay Area to Southern California.
Everything along.
Yeah, we got that
the halal spots along the way. I mean, there's like Cajun fried chicken and Castaic as you're passing Six Flags.
Wow. I mean, for a bit, like this is like another bad answer. I can give you a lot of bad answers, but like for a while, Dave's Hot Chicken.
Which one?
Right, it was
Dave's.
Oh yeah.
But wait, how Desi are you? What spice level are you getting? Your reputation's on the line.
I'm not gonna go like try to say that I'm very medium. I'm not the lowest. Like I don't take some spice
in the middle.
But I'm not gonna go to like hot. Like hot at Dave's Hot Chicken is like it's uncomfortable. It's like technically I could probably suffer through it. but I'm like, it's not enjoyable at that point. Medium.
That's something you do in your 20s, not your 30s.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I can barely eat any fried chicken anymore. Like, just like it does not digest the way it used to 10 years ago. So I'm kind of like
Oh no! Is this what the late 30s feel like?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think it's also like I eat healthier in general, and so that stuff hits harder. Where you're like, your body is like shocked when you take in something so fried and like greasy. But you guys are the foodies. I'm not the foodie. You know, like you have to eat the prime rib or whatever.
Dave's, it was good when it was only in Southern California.
It was close to us, and now
it's, it's kind of like the halal.
I had it in Toronto.
Yeah, even they have one in Toronto now too.
Yeah, I literally so it wasn't special anymore or something. I was just like, oh,
that's cool, man. I mean, if there was one in Austin, I'd still go at least once a month.
Yeah,
there's no halal Nashville style in Austin right now.
Oh, but you have BBQ, right? You have halal BBQ, right?
We don't have Korean barbecue. Texas barbecue, there's one that I would say is like a 7, realistically a 6, but an Austin 7, just because our scene is pretty weak here. That one you can go and order and you get it. Or there's Franklin's, which uses Creekstone.
That's what I've heard about.
You stand in line for 2 hours.
Yeah, I didn't even attempt it. Because
I remember actually. So we watched your film on Saturday, the Thursday. So 2 days before the film, a few days before the film, I called up my friend. I'm like, "Hey, where you at? Franklin's. Where in the line are you? Near the front? Okay, get me some brisket.
Ooh.
I'm meeting you at the house.
You get a shortcut.
I got to try it. I didn't have to wait in line.
Life hack, barbecue life hack.
Put your friend in line.
Barbecue hack.
But no, I heard a lot about Franklin's when I was there, but then, I was just like, I wasn't gonna, I mean, I don't eat beef. So it's like, it's weird. I feel a bit like excommunicated from
the Muslim community.
Because literally I'll show up to an iftar or something and they're like, oh, you don't eat, wait, what are you gonna eat?
It's like Islam and red meat or like equivalent.
I didn't know it was like part of Islam.
That's Pakistani.
Yeah, it's like weird, but it's like I've seen the look on people's faces. Yeah. And I'm just like, like I don't know what to say. We all have like cholesterol issues and we have like I've had a lot of heart disease in my family. Like it's like but at the same time I do feel bad when if I go to somebody's house and they like don't have like a chicken option.
I mean, imagine going to an iftari and you bite into this lovely samosa and you find out there's potatoes and peas in it.
That's my dream scenario. You just described my dream scenario. I'm worried that there's.
Oh yeah, that would be disappointing.
So we have very different perspectives. On
if we hit that iftar together, I know. Okay, yo, Imran, take the samosa. I don't want it anymore.
Disappointing.
And then people say, and then it's like, I think what happens is like, they're like, oh, you don't. It's like, oh, Imran doesn't eat meat, and I'm like, I didn't say that. I just said I don't eat one animal, like just beef.
Bro,
and it's like, and apparently that's the only animal that matters.
There you go. You got 2 scripts out of this interview. You got you
doesn't
got
eat beef in the Muslim community. You can't
not eating beef script. Yeah.
So what's next for you? I guess let's conclude with this question because I know Irfan has to bounce as well.
Yeah.
What's next? You hinted a little bit on a food project, but what's next?
It's I don't know if it's a food. It's a comedy mystery. It's a TV show that I'm close to pitching. That's like a series that is about it's a comedy mystery. It takes place in the Bay Area because I think all my stories might because that's just where I grew up and where I spent a lot of time. But a comedy mystery set in the Bay Area where there's a mystery, a disgruntled engineer kind of in the tech world discovers that there might be like a mystery unfolding at his local halal meat store.
Oh,
and that's also all I figured out. No, I'm just kidding. I have much more than that. No. There's so that's something I'm working on. that I'm excited about. And also, yeah, it's just funny because then I thought about it. I was like, oh, I guess like there's this weird nexus between this podcast and that because it's and about
we can consult for you. No problem. No charge.
I mean, there's so many people in like the Bay Area community that straight up will be like waiting to see the meat being loaded into the restaurant and be like, where's that certification?
Yeah.
It says Wayne Halal. It's machine slaughtered. Storm. Thank you so much for joining. I was really moved. I was literally moved to tears watching Mustache, and I'm really grateful that something like this exists in the world, which is my way of saying I'm really grateful that you exist in this world. So thank you for coming on this podcast and talking to us, and it really means a lot.
Oh, thank you for the words, and thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Artistic Foodies. Before we go, show some love for your favorite podcast by leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts.
Be sure to find us on Facebook and Instagram to stay tuned for more episodes, as well as bonus content. You can have access to all of our episodes on our website, theartisticfoodies.com.
This podcast has been brought to you by HalalFest Incorporated and GAMA, Gathering All Muslim Artists.